this out. 2 pawpaw root suckers. And there could be more here. We're in the area where we have our sunflower, mango, and NC. So we've talked quite a bit about pawpaws this season already. But yeah, I just found those pawpaw root suckers yesterday, and those are the first of our, I think, sunflower most likely root suckers, which means it's not sunflower, it's just whatever rootstock that the nursery that grafted the sunflower used. And then a lot of times, a lot of cases, these nurseries use improved cultivars, seedlings. So it could be from sunflower, it could be from NC1, it could be from a dozen other varieties, or it could be from wild seedlings. You know, that last video, that pawpaw video, I believe we were talking about in our wettest area, the soil maybe being too acidic for earthworms and other insects, causing, you know, this slow growth, or the pawpaw plants sometimes to just stand still for years upon years. And we also sort of, I think, compared it to other areas that have more fertile soil, and the potential that they sort of do the same thing, but because other weeds and grasses and stuff may be taking all the nutrients. So, you know, maybe we haven't done our due diligence in mulching and stuff like that, and weed suppression. Because apparently pawpaw trees are very heavy feeders. In that wettest area where we think it's too acidic for the earthworms, I think we're starting to do something. We're going to nutrify the soil with nutrients, and we're going to calcify the soil a little bit, you know, using like organic raised beds, whether we raise it 2 inches or 5, just around them. We're not going to just like dump dirt or anything and just bury the trunks. We're just going to give it something that's not super dense, leaves, sticks, you know, maybe a little bit of compost and a little bit of garden lime, a little bit of potash, and just change the pH, you know, around each individual plant, in hopes that that level of insect activity will come up, and we'll get earthworms in there as well. And we got a cat there that's invading our video. Boop, 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 boop. Over the years, we have tried to grow quite a bit of stuff there. Figs, some other mulberries, even though we do have some mulberries surviving there. Hawthorns, probably a few other things that, you know, I kind of figured it could be nematodes or anything else that could be an issue. But building those raised beds to make like a mycorrhizal raised bed around it, you know, having active compost and nutrients, earthworms, they should all bring in beneficial nematodes and mycorrhizal fungi. So everything should be helped out just by doing that in that area. So hopefully root knot nematodes won't be a problem if we, you know, treat everything for root knot nematodes. And hopefully the lack of nutrients won't be a problem if we treat, you know, the soil with the right, you know, getting the pH right and allowing those earthworms and insects to come in and eat the organic material and poop out, you know, plant food. It looks like our hugel bucket comfrey is fixing to bloom. I never, or haven't so far, found the other comfrey that I planted in that first mycorrhizal raised bed. It probably just got overtaken and died, but who knows, it might show up in a month or two. Sort of bottom soaking some of our jaboticabas, and I don't know why some jaboticabas just came up and they got big and they were nice, same soil, same seed. We, you know, sprouted the seeds at the same time, but some of them just kind of got small or looked bad. Some of them may have died. So this bottom soaking we're doing in this tub is basically like our liquid compost, or, you know, stink water. So it's hopefully full of nutrients. We put leaves and all kinds of stuff in there, maybe juices, let it ferment and get stinky. So we're hoping that bottom soaking these guys will help, you know, boost them a little bit. Some elderberry berries formed on some of these ones that seem to be ever-bearing, so they got an early start. We're still in a pretty bad drought, and you know, it's possible one of my chestnuts in a pot just may not make it. I've been bottom soaking it for a few days, trying to get it to perk up, but even just watering every 2 or 3 days did not help with some of the pears I had in buckets, some of the roses, and obviously that. Here's one of those post-mycorrhizal beds I'm making around the pawpaw. I thought it kind of looked dead, but there is a leaf there. So hopefully we can salvage it low enough to get some grafting material or to see if it'll root sucker or something. This could be the Peterson pawpaw, one of the two, or it could be something else that we just labeled 1, 2, and 3, and then we lost the label to. So this is another pawpaw that I just recently grafted. As you can see, it's got some green coming out the top. We're on day 2 of this video, and what you're looking at are mayhaw seeds that I've been soaking. So I've been kind of fermenting them. That's my kind of method of doing seed cleaning, is ferment, rinse, you know, put new water in, ferment 2, 3, 5 days or whatever. Those mayhaw seeds came from that second seedling that first flowered this year after many years. And I'm relatively new to cold stratifying seeds. I didn't really like the process or the idea of it, I guess. But I think the first ones I did were some chestnuts many years ago, before we had a garden vlog, and I seen them rooting or sprouting in the refrigerator. So when I did pawpaws a couple years ago, I was like, are these guys going to sprout in the refrigerator? They didn't. It was like 18 months after we cold stratified for 90 or 100 days or whatever before some of them sprouted. We got about 50% take, I guess. 50% of them sprouted. These mayhaws that I think we got like 6 or 7, I can't remember, I collected the seeds from, were way larger than my original mayhaw berries when it first started producing, and even now after producing mayhaws every year, they're tiny. So, and what I was reading about these guys is that they come relatively true to seeds. So if you get one with a big old mayhaw berry or something, maybe a certain level of disease resistance or whatever, those genetics should hopefully carry over. I think on one of the last videos I did, it may or may not even be uploaded yet, and it may not be uploaded in the same order. So if this causes confusion, sorry about that. It'll be uploaded eventually. I talked, you know, I had the question at the end of the video, am I going to get a third plant shipment for Signwood or whatever during this shipment season? And I'm definitely inching closer to that, but I'm kind of finalizing what is in that. Unfortunately, because of the way Fruitwood Nursery handles orders, they don't allow you to update or add or change. It becomes a big issue with shipping prices or losing out on items that are popular or in demand. And a lot of times these popular things aren't mainstream popular cultivars, but rather stuff that's more rare. And when those things become available, people snatch them up, usually within like 24 to 48 hours, sometimes in 2 to 3 hours. So I've lost a lot of stuff waiting for payday, and the lack of being able to update and add items to an existing order or whatever, or just saying put on a list, you know, hold this for me, you know, for my order, that, you know, they just do not have that option. So you can end up either losing a lot, or you're paying 20 plus bucks to ship, you know, a $5 piece of scion wood, which is kind of something that I can't really afford to do. It ends up being a lottery. Are you placing an order at this specific time for other plants, and are you just going to grab whatever that is on your most wanted list as soon as it becomes available? If not, you snooze, you lose. But hopefully it gives you something each year to kind of look forward to. You know, are you going to get X, Y, or Z? Because most likely all of them, everything you want won't be available at the same time. And I know you guys probably have questions like, you know, what was in those first 2 orders? What's going to be in the 3rd order? What happened to the loquats? Did you have successes, or how many, you know, during that end of last season, you know, period? You guys know that there was probably at least 1 mulberry that we grafted, and you've seen in a previous video that failed. I think the Italian mulberry. And so you guys got an idea of some of the stuff. Right now we're not revealing everything. Maybe we will do it right after we do that order, or that order comes in, if it comes in, if we place the order and finalize everything, and then we'll talk about a lot of that stuff. What about, you know, when we were talking about adding more fig varieties to our mix? Honestly, there have not been many on my want list that have shown up at all this year. We had 1, and it went pretty quickly, and none of the other Coldadam or any of them that we were looking for have shown up. Maybe they'll show up later in the year as cutting plugs or something, or cuttings. But that's one of the things that has been mostly out. One showed up, we missed it. They're plant materials that were, I would consider, secondary to me, you know, that weren't as big or popular to me. They raised their prices on, you know, when you know, at one time they were like, okay, well, it's only such and such many dollars per cutting plug, which is, you know, sometimes a little small plant. Sometimes it's a 12 or 14 inch plant, sometimes a little bit bigger, but you can't guarantee, you know, that it's going to be anything more than a 3 or 4 inch plant. You know, we got figs and all last year that we had some that were decent size, maybe 2 foot, 18 inches. Then we had some that were maybe like 3 or 4 inches. But like the pomegranates and stuff, which we, you know, we're hoping to have more successes with. We're hoping to have more experimentation with. And we're going to. We just, you know, we might just cut back our expectations just a little, at least this year, maybe the following year. But we want to get some more stuff in the ground, including pomegranates. There comes somebody to crash our video. What are you doing? So we are on day 3 of this garden vlog video, and yes, I did finally place that 3rd order. And you're looking at the website, the front page there, Fruitwood Nursery. I did not make a big order. I had to adjust for days or weeks what I wanted, and to get the price right, and to make sure I didn't overdo it with and not have enough root stock, you know, material to do any grafting with. If everything, the sign wood and stuff, were free, I would probably get 20 or 30 different items, and I would try to make it work, but it's not. You gotta pay for everything. I got me a little Ziploc with a little bit of moist peat in here, so we're gonna put those mayhaw seeds in here, and I'm not gonna heat stratify them. I'm just going to cold stratify for about 90 days before we plant it out. We got somewhere around 19 seeds here. So there we go. I kind of pushed the air out of them after I put the seeds in there, made sure they got a good covering, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator for somewhere around 90 days. Tried to salvage a bunch of little sticks and, you know, scion wood pieces from that pawpaw, that Tennessee avocado pawpaw seedling that we had, because it was dying from the bottom up, and some of these passed the scratch test, although slightly, but they were just, it's just too far gone. They were on their way out, and none of them now have any green on them. So instead of being in the refrigerator, we're going to go ahead and just throw these guys out.
Videos ago, I made like a chart of my genetically different, potentially
genetically different pawpaw trees, you know, from the grafted tops to the rootstock to seedlings that were intentionally planted as seedlings and not really for rootstock. And we, like I said, we just kind of found that new pawpaw that came up from our sunflower. I'm pretty excited about that, and we did not go like this year how we were planning to go, how we were planning to do the pawpaws. We were going to get Primo, which I think is an Italian cultivar, and another one from that person, and then another person was going to give us cuttings or something from their active pawpaw orchard or whatever. And we sort of did some studying on that sort of historically significant Louisiana pawpaw, and we read up on it, and the people, family members or friends from this guy that's probably long dead in the last 20 years said that his cultivars really didn't taste very good. And Primo, they say it's large, that's what it has for it, and it's one of the most bland pawpaws that you can get. So, you know, I don't know if Primo would even fruit here. We don't know that. So instead of using like all of our root suckers for bringing new stock in this year, we only brought in 3 Scion wood pieces, which was Kentucky Champion, Summer Delight, and IXL, and we decided to use a lot of those rootstocks for backing up our existing grafted plants and 1 or 2 of our seedlings. So that's what we did with that. And now I think the new plan, and you know, and things can, this is why I brought up that things didn't go sort of according to plan this year based on what we were saying last year. I'm not even thinking about getting any more grafted stuff here. You know, we have 27 potential different genetics, and we're going to see how well the rootstocks and the seedlings and stuff do, as long as we got backups of those grafted plants that we already have. Let's just see how those seedlings and stuff, the rootstocks, do, and see if they do better, see if they have more flowers, see if we get better pollination. And I mean, we have so much now, and if we just get, you know, a couple fruits here and there, and get, you know, 4 or 10 or 100 seeds, and we still have about 50% success rate just having them open pollinated or you know, hand pollinated. Hopefully those seedlings, because they were produced here, will be better for this area. Hopefully we don't have to go to like 4 or 5 generations or even 3 generations down to keep breeding and trying to come up with something. Hopefully the first, or you know, generation of crossed seeds will produce, and seedlings will produce something that'll work for us. We could just go and buy, you know, 50, 100, 1,000 seeds, cold stratify them, you know, and those are things that, you know, seeds that weren't produced here. We don't know if we got the chill hours here. We don't know if they like our climate here. So whatever they produce is not made here or for here. Out of all of our genetics, we have 11 different improved cultivars from other areas. That should be enough. You know, 11 improved cultivars means 11 rootstocks plus seedlings plus what we produce. We're not up north with like a big grant, you know, a university or anything to just plant, you know, 50 or 100 or 1,000 acres of, you know, fruit trees. So, you know, we're doing other trees, and we're stuck on about 3 acres of land. And there are buildings and driveways and stuff like that we can't plant everywhere. You know, 3 acres, if it was just open area, you could put a lot of plants on it. And we have hundreds of plants, you know, perennials and, you know, fruit trees and shrubs and stuff like that. But we're going to keep putting more. We're going to put more until we can't put any more else, or either that or until we're dead.